Hello everyone, thanks for joining me today. This is our webinar Back to the SOLIDWORKS Drawing Board, or as I like to call it, it's all about the details. I still see we have a few more attendees joining us today. And myself, I'm Brad Hakeman. I'm an application engineer here with GoEngineer, based out of our Sioux Falls, South Dakota office. And some takeaways for today's meeting: I want to stress the importance of your drawings and getting comfortable with our drawing templates. And from there, we'll get into adding drawing details, how to quickly create a drawing using some of the tools built into SOLIDWORKS. And then finally, looking into what's new for SOLIDWORKS 2022 in regards to drawings. First off is going to be the importance of our drawings. You might ask why, when we work in a 3D medium in SOLIDWORKS, we have our nice 3D models and renderings. Why would two-dimensional drawings matter? This is a quote from a former colleague of mine that has kind of stuck with me. We were discussing creating new drawing templates from scratch and working on looking at our drawing standards and what content needed to be on those drawings. And he often said that your drawing is a contract between yourself and the recipient of the drawing. It needs to be contains all the necessary information for the recipient to make that part, whether it be a purchase part drawing you're sending to a vendor. They do not need to have to ask you any questions or any room for interpretation. It needs to be unambiguous, no errors, no unneeded information in the drawing. There are several different types of drawings, of course. Engineering or technical drawings can be a machine part or a layout drawing. You go into your assembly drawings. That, of course, has a bill of materials. You're going to have torque specs on it. You need maybe have paint details or packaging information on it. And then also is a purchase part, or also called a control drawing. That's something that you need to provide to your purchasing agent to work with your vendors. And they need to have all the information on that drawing, whether it be from a preferred vendor source or a list of requirements if they're looking for sourcing a new vendor for you. And then finally, SOLIDWORKS Drawings itself has a lot of built-in tools to help you get the most out of your drawing. It's customizable. We'll get into working with our drawing templates and how easy it is to customize those. And being an application engineer, I always enjoy seeing the new enhancements each year that SOLIDWORKS creates for the new releases. When I was working as a user of SOLIDWORKS, there were a lot of times that a lot of these enhancements would have been useful to me. So it's great to see those come out in new releases. So we're going to start off. So that gets us into getting comfortable with our drawing templates. We're going to take a look at drawing templates and sheet formats. You may have seen this graphic before. If you're not familiar with drawing templates and how they work, is that there are actually two file formats. You have your drawing template that has the sheet format, so that's your drawing sheet size and orientation of the drawing. It contains sheet format in the sheet. Document properties, things like your units and other settings particular to that drawing file, and also any predefined views. And we'll actually look at that later, what predefined views are in this presentation. And then also there's the sheet format file. That is an SLD DRT. That file, kind of think of that as another layer on top of your drawing. That's going to be your title block, the border that you see in the picture, any notes that you would have in your drawing, an embedded image that can be your company logo, and we'll look into that here later in the presentation. Custom properties, that is going to be metadata that is actually driven from your part or assembly that we can import into the drawing automatically. And then lastly is anchor points. Those are points in your drawing that you've specified for location of such things as your revision table, your bill of material table, so that when you're placing those, it will automatically snap to those locations. So you're creating standard locations for those parts of your template. I will stop here. There should be a handout in the GoToWebinar screen under handouts. That is a copy that we've uploaded of the ANSI standard Y14.1-2012. This was an example that I had. These, when we were working on creating our new drawing templates, we had drawings templates from our old two-dimensional CAD program, that we were working with to bring them into SOLIDWORKS, but we wanted to evaluate to see what information was needed, what wasn't, but also compare to what are the accepted standards that we need to adhere to. Just a couple of slides here I have showing you the different types of title blocks that we have available for the different ANSI standard sizes, A size through E size and F. Myself, I've only ever used A through D. Kind of a key takeaway for this also would be that when you're looking at sizing, your A size and C size are actually the same ratios. It's just scaled up and scaled down. Same thing with B and D size. So if you're looking at printing off a D size or a B size, kind of a nice idea on a standard office printer is that you can actually use for C size. You can use A size sheet and scale your drawing down to fit the page. Just a little thing I remember from working in these. And then also in that standard that you're going to see, you'll have reference dimensions here for what you want to have in your title blocks, how you're setting those up. There's going to be some information, standard information that you need to have in your drawing that you can see. And great thing about SOLIDWORKS is when you're setting up that title block, it's all sketch entities, so you're able to easily manipulate those just as you would with a sketch in your standard part. One takeaway too is understanding the different projections in your drawing. There are a couple of standards that we adhere to called first angle and third angle projections. First angle is not as common as around here. You wouldn't see that as third angle, but first angle is primarily India and European countries, and third angle would be here in the U.S. and Canada and Japan and Australia. It is a sheet property, and we'll show you how that is set up and how that can be changed. And then also you'll see there's a optional symbol that you can place in your drawing. This takes away the need to translate your drawing. If you need to send this to someone that might not, it gives them that nice graphical representation showing you what projection it should be. And I'll show you the difference between the two and how that can affect your drawing if it's not set up the correct way. The first angle projection, as you see here, you're looking at, this is the traditional layout for first angle projection, excuse me. Whereas the right view of the model is off to the left. That's because it's basically rotating the part from that front view to the right. Whereas if you look at the third angle projection, this is what most of us are familiar with. The right side view is actually looking to the right of the part instead of the other way around. And this next part here, I'll show you. This is just a simple widget that I drew up to kind of demonstrate how third angle and first angle projection can change when you're looking at a drawing and how that sheet selection can change. So here I have a through hole and a notch, and on the back side it's a simple notch cut part of the way through the part. So maybe there's some design intent that this needs to be in this orientation for the next use in the assembly. So if I go to my drawing, you'll see that I have it set up. This is currently third angle projection. I have two views and an isometric view showing you how I want this part to be made. I have a third angle projection symbol in my drawing, but what if, you can see here how that's laid out, but what if you'll look at let's get to the sheet properties, there we go, and here under type of projection, if that were changed to first angle, so it's not going to match that symbol, if I hit apply changes, you'll see that it changes that view so it doesn't match the rest of the picture. So if I gave this to someone to make without a 3D model, if I just gave them a 2D print, they would already have questions because the views aren't lining up. The views in the drawing, the two-dimensional views do not match the isometric view, and they also do not match the third angle projection symbol. So just things to be aware of, that if things aren't looking correct in your drawing, to take a look at the projection and how it's set up. When I was working in industry doing this project of working with our drawing templates, our standard was the second page of the drawing had a view that was just this lower quadrant of the screen. Everything else that you see was removed, so all the relevant drawn by, checked by had to be on the first page, but the second page really just needed the title and the information here. So what I'm going to do is show you how we created that because you're just starting with the first page, you can easily cut and delete what you don't need from that page. So I'm creating that second sheet format. So go ahead and edit that. So now I have my drawing down to what I want my second page or third pages to look like. I'm not going to save this as a template. I'm going to just save the sheet format. I only need to see the title block information here, so I'd click Save Sheet Format. And then I'll go to it automatically pulls up my file location. Go ahead and save that. So now I have that second sheet format that I want. Now I'll show you an example here. If I open up my drawing, one second here. So I have this first page, and I click that second page. You'll notice that it didn't come through as a second sheet. It still reused that original first sheet format, and that's because under the document properties, again, that's part of the drawing template is my document properties. I have an option here to tell it what sheet to use for that. So under drawing sheets, so I have this use different sheet format. If that's cleared, it's going to reuse the existing sheet format from that first page. So I can go ahead and select that. So now, after I click OK, each time I click New Sheet, it's going to create a new sheet for me. Now I can also set this up so that's automatic from the start. Actually, take a look here. You'll notice that the Sheet 2 of 2 updates. It didn't update here, but that's okay. I can just do a Control-Q to rebuild it. But also, you'll find if this doesn't happen, if there's a reason, if something happens, it's actually a link to property that you'll see here. So the verbiage is sheet, property current sheet of property total sheets. And those are found under the menu item here, link to property. So I want that to be, I want these two items here, current sheet and total sheets. So if you'll find if you're working in these sheet templates and that's not working for you, that's where you go to fix that. Okay. Go ahead and close that. So let's see. Another thing you'll find, let's see. I'll go ahead and delete that. So what I was going to say earlier was if you want to save this so that it will always, when you always start a new drawing, so that it's adds that second sheet, and you'll want to save over this drawing template file. So do File, Save As, and change the file type to drawing template, and then select your file to rename. So that will resave that document property and make sure you have that link to that. So go ahead and open up, and you'll see just landscape new. I can test that out. Go ahead and add sheet, and now I have my second sheet format how I want it. Another thing that you see here, if you're not familiar with this is a custom property tab that I have built. It's a form that you can create to add dimension, add details to your drawing, add that drawn by, check by. You can really set it up for any information that you want, and that is created with this, which is the property tab builder that's installed with your SOLIDWORKS installation. You'll see here there are different custom property file types based on what type of file you're working with: a drawing properties, a part property, or an assembly tab or assembly property. And so those, when you pull up a drawing or a part or an assembly, it's going to pull up that template for you to use when you're filling that out. So go ahead and open up my drawing tab here. You see very easy to work with. You can grab these text box, check boxes, lists. If you're working with a purchase part, if you maybe have a list of your preferred vendors, you can have that already populated in that list group, so you can have a drop down to say who you want to make this part. And then you just drag and drop it into the group box, and then edit the boxes as you go. So that's looking at the drawings one. I'm going to, what you'll see here, if I go and open up the part file, I'll show you a little bit about the custom properties for that. For this one, I just have, right now, I have the description, a part number. If my standard is to have a part number, not same as the file name, I can have that here. And also the material, you'll notice, is actually linked to the actual part property material over here. So I can change the material in either location. I can change it in the feature tree or in this list. And you'll see also the weight is visible there too. I just pulled that in there in case maybe if you're working and you want to see how see the weight visible on your custom properties as you're working, so you don't have to go back and pull up the evaluate tab. If I were to pull out the part property tab builder, so I have my descriptions here, group box, part number, and then this is how you would set that up. I have material I can change. You'll see many different properties I can assign that to. Same with the weight, and you can also set that up for configurations as well. Then if I go back to my drawing, you'll notice if I start filling this out, so I'll go ahead and add my name to the drawn by, drawn date. Maybe I drew this back in a few months ago. I need to update the drawing, so I'll have my boss checked it, engineering manager approved it. If I go ahead and fill this out, go ahead and hit apply, you'll see that fills up in my drawing title block. And also, if you're not familiar with the custom property tab, if you go to file properties, it's filled that out for me, driven by the data from my custom property tab. So if I pull up, so that's working with some of the templates that you might already have. And if I look at my under the SOLIDWORKS side of these are templates that are already included with your files or with your installations, we can actually go through and create a new drawing template, and it's very simple to work with because it's all sketch entities and the tools built into the tab in the files here that we can work with. So go ahead and click OK. So this example, what if you wanted to work from scratch? You're working with a completely new blank sheet. You want to create a new drawing template entirely here. I can go to my edit sheet format. So the sheet format tab here, and I'll go ahead and edit sheet format. And I'm going to start with my border. So I just click on automatic border and go ahead and click next, and you'll see here it's starting to fill in with that with those fields. I've seen other instances where people have drawn this in by hand, trying to measure it and lay it out, but the automatic border tool takes some of the guesswork out of it because you can set up the margins, you can set up the zones and the zone dividers. Right now, we want to take a look at how the top and bottom margins are lined up, how we want them. Let's go ahead and go down here. Let's take a look. We want to change. We'll change the zone distribution here. We want a two zone, 2 column, 2 rows and 2 columns here. If I come down to the bottom here, you'll see the zone dividers. Maybe you don't want these lines to go into the drawing as much as they are, so we can change that here with these center zone divider spacing. So I'll go ahead and change that. So it's entirely up to you. You can use that, and then once I have that in place, then I can start adding my title blocks. This one I'm going to start with by showing just creating my sketch entities. So it's real simple. If you didn't have an existing template to work with, you can create one on your own. Like I said, it's all sketch entities, so the relations and dimensions are all there. You can use to edit this. Add your notes, title block, all of the same setup as working with just standard notes in SOLIDWORKS. You can use that here in your title blocks. And of course you can just copy paste and just move these along, so all of the text is going to be the same size, and you can line it up fairly easily. Now that's kind of an example if you were to start from scratch, but what if you had an existing drawing you wanted to use some of the drawings from, some of the title block from? We can actually bring those in using simple copy paste and some of the edit tools in SOLIDWORKS. So I go ahead and I'm going to grab most of the title block here that I want. So grab that, just a simple Control-C, Control-V, copy and paste it. Make sure that I'm in edit sheet format. I've had that happen. You drop in sketch entities into your title block, but it's not part of the sheet format because you aren't in that edit sheet format mode. Same thing here, we're just going to delete what we don't want, and then use a simple move command to move the drawing sketch entities where we want them. You see it also brought in the sheet properties we have, so the property, the description, the drawing number, the weight and the scale and the material, all of that's been brought through, so it keeps that link back to whatever file, whatever part or assembly you're bringing into the drawing. You'll notice that it didn't bring in the drawing, it didn't bring in the company logo that I wanted. So I'll go ahead and say right now, I'll go ahead and fix that. So I need to go back here and edit the sheet format. If you haven't added a logo before, you can just add a picture file. What you'll see here, if I go back to my file here, so this is my company logo, and you'll see the different file formats that are accepted for a picture that you can insert. So this one, I'm just going to use this existing file and go ahead and hit open, and it'll bring it in. You'll see it's oversized, and there are different ways we can adjust the size. There's the grab handles here, and there's also that blue line there you see there. That is the scale tool if you were looking at keeping your image scaled with correctly with the corporate standards. You can do that. So that's essentially creating a new drawing template from scratch if you needed to. So there are some other options we can do for drawing templates. You saw I had a list of drawing templates in my folder there. This could be an example. We had these as our purchase part drawing. This would be, you had the manufacturer information, contact information, and the manufacturer's part number. Maybe there'd be some other information that you wanted to have on there, but it'd be a quick standard way to show purchasing and have that document that they can take to their vendors to get a purchase part for. Also, this was another one we had where you had a different drawing template for not even an assembly file versus a manufactured part. Maybe you didn't want the spaces for your next assembly and where used on your part file drawing. You could have it scaled down to just the relevant information for a part file versus an assembly. Also, you could, we've seen this where you take off the tolerance block as a separate block. So maybe you had different tolerances based on what the precision of your file. Maybe you had different precision standards for your machine part versus a weldment or a formed sheet metal part. So just different ways we can clean up and adapt our templates for our needs. So that's getting comfortable with templates, understanding how the different file formats work. Next, we'll get into adding details, and when I say that, we're looking at how quickly can we create a drawing if we needed to. So this one, it's a simple drawing. I have 4 views or 4 standard views and a detailed view. The title block's filled out. My notes, I have some standard notes that I've brought in. And how do we get to here? So here I have my drawing that you see here, and I'm going to recreate that drawing from scratch here. So I go to New, and I mentioned earlier that I was going to talk about predefined views. This is a drawing template file that I've created using predefined views. Now they look like they're empty views, and that is possible. You can do insert empty view, but if you go to drawing view, that's the difference here. It's either empty or predefined, and that predefined view, if you look at it, it's going to I have it set up to automatically pull in the front view, top view, right view, and isometric. And you also notice with isometric view, I can set that up to have it be shaded with the edges visible, if that's the standard that you want for your isometric view. And I can go ahead and insert the model. I have this part open in the background. I can just go ahead and click on it and click OK, and it will bring in that model in these directions. Now what you'll see here, this is a key takeaway, is you want to make sure that you're modeling with the intent of what is your front view, what is your top view, because they might not come into your drawing the same way. In this one, I had actually updated the model to match that drawing. You'll see here that the front plane is actually would have been the right plane in the original drawing. To give you an example here of what would happen if I had left this as the original default views, I'll come back to the drawing and you'll see how that updates. And it doesn't quite match my drawing. Now some might delete these views and start over, but it's just simply going back to the part file and reorienting the model to match your drawing. So I'll go ahead. You only hit update standard files first. I want that oriented how I want it. So I clicked on that, click on my front view, and now that is set again as my front view. So I'll come back to the drawing, and you'll see that updates for me. So now I'm going to start adding some details to it. SOLIDWORKS is a very handy tool, that Smart Dimension tool, to bring in. You can click on entities, and it'll give you those nice dimensions how you want it, but it can be time consuming. I had a few dimensions on here that I wanted to bring in, and you'd have to click on each individual item. But what I'm going to show you here is using the model items annotation. And what that is going to use, it's going to bring in the sketches, or excuse me, the dimensions used to create the sketches and the features. There's a list in the dimensions tab there of different things you can bring in. You can bring in a hole pattern. If there's a hole wizard hole, you can show the callouts in your drawing from this. But the two key areas here are the what's called marked for drawing and not marked for drawing. What could be not marked for drawing would be if there were dimensions that I had used to create the feature, but that I don't want the part to be dimensioned that way using those dimensions. I can mark them as not marked for drawing on the part side and bring them in, but bring in everything else that I want here. So I'll go ahead and select the model. I want to bring dimensions into all views. I'll click OK, and now it's bringing in. You'll see it does bring them in kind of spaced, not quite how you want them, so I can go and easily move them around, manipulate the dimensions. This one was actually one that I did not want in there, so I can just delete it. That should have been not marked for drawing, but that's okay. And you can still add dimensions too. This is just a nice way to bring in a lot of the dimensions that were used to create the features. So I have, I added some details. I added that detail view. But I have some standard notes. These are, maybe I have notes that I'm making a lot of machine parts. I don't want to have to write the same notes over and over again. I can use something in the design library. This is standard with SOLIDWORKS. You can bring in these standard notes or save these standard notes to this file that you can bring in if you need to over and over again. You'll see there's a lot of weld symbols and different GD&T symbols. So if you're if you're only using a handful of weld symbols, you don't need to use the weld symbol tool to create them every time. You can add these to your standard library. In this case, I have my machine part note. I'll just drag and drop it. But unfortunately, you'll see here I have that note 2, machine from stock material. This is supposed to have a part number driven from the part custom properties. So I'll just go ahead and fix that and show you how we can add that intelligence to your notes here. So I'll click this and click link to property, and I want model found here. And you'll see if I click here under property name, here's that stock material, and as soon as I click on it, it'll fill in with the information from the custom properties. So I have that, and now I'll show you how to we can easily save this note back into my standard library. Click on this, and I give it a name, and actually if I can give it the same name, and it'll just override the information there. Yep. So we have that, and we have our drawing. Have a drawing filled out and all of the information there. Okay, so that's adding details. Nice tools, great tools that are included with SOLIDWORKS that we can use to quickly create our drawing, so we're not dropping and placing individual views, we're not adding dimensions manually, and then those notes, we're not creating typos, we're not creating the note over and over again. So finally, what's new for SOLIDWORKS 2022 in regards to drawings? There's a lot of great features. If you're not using SOLIDWORKS 2022 yet, these are some things you can look forward to. And if you are, maybe these are things we haven't covered yet when you're looking at drawings. So there's certain options here. One is the alternate position view, crop view. With alternate position view, if you're not familiar with that, if you have an assembly that has a range of motion and you want to show that, you can create a configuration where the part is in its maybe 2 different positions because you want to show a distance of travel or an angle of operation. We can show that in the drawing. In 2021, that was added for parts as well. Great example. We were trying to discuss this when I was a customer, was how do we show cast part versus as machined. You wanted to show how much material you were taking away. So we were trying to figure out a way to get around that, and so that was added in SOLIDWORKS 2021. But now what's new for SOLIDWORKS 2022 for drawings is we can crop that alternate position view. As you see here, I have an example, pretty simple part, but the takeaway here is you're able to crop that view, show just the information that you want in your drawing, and saves you space on your sheet for other annotations and information. Okay, a couple of items for sheet metal. Predefined flat pattern and flat pattern bend lines are now supported as a separate sketch entity. In this example here, if I just want to create a flat pattern drawing, I already created this. This is using that predefined view option, but now for 2022 I can have that set up to automatically be a flat pattern view. And you'll see here the bend lines aren't visible. So I go to my view, hide show, the bend lines, if we go down here, are now a separate sketch entity that I can hide and show. In my experience, and actually had this happen with a customer, if you had any sketch entities visible on your part file and went to create your drawing directly from that, those sketch entities would be visible at the same time when you're trying to show the bend lines that you see here in the drawing. So they've split that up so that you can hide your sketches and show the bend lines all in one step, instead of having to go back, hide all sketches, and then show just the bend lines in your drawing. So the next one. Next, we'll take a look at detailing mode. If you're not familiar with that, that was introduced in SOLIDWORKS 2019. It is a way to open your drawings without having the referenced files open. The files are used for your drawing views. Similar to working in large design review with edit mode. You're able to view the graphics, view the drawings without having to load your models. So take a look here. I have a drawing that I want to open in detailing mode. So go ahead and open that. You'll see it opens very quickly. Right now it's only one page, but it's open to detailing mode. Every menu item that you see up in the top there, everything that's not grayed out, is available to you in detailing mode. Just to give you an idea of the difference between fully resolved and detailing mode. If you were to open this in quick view, very few options would be available to you. So this is a nice way to get into, open your drawing and add some dimensions and notes and move your views around. So take a look here, just to show you here some of the different options that are available to you. Well, what's new for 2022? Now with 2022, I have my full view palette. Before, you weren't able to create views, you could only delete or move the views. So this is a nice way to add views to my drawings. I don't need to bring this in fully resolved. Again, these are brought in detailing mode. In my own experience, this would have been handy when I was working in industry as a customer, because I had a project we were working on that was a multi-page drawing with different views and display states and different configurations to show the different steps of the assembly. So this was it would have been very handy to me at the time. As you can see there, I added the detail views there as well, which is something that wasn't available to us without this detailing mode. And then you can set it to fully resolved if you want to go ahead and make your edits if you wanted to. Another option is, this is new for 2022, is the option to open up legacy drawings. These might be older drawings that you have. Maybe you don't have the referenced files anymore, but you want to see the view, or maybe they've moved. But if you're not familiar with this is an older drawing that we've used for some demonstrations, and this is open in detailing mode. It didn't look for the missing files. It didn't ask you, show you the last known location. It's just a nice way to have it bring in all of the views for you, so you can get a quick view of the drawing. And then finally, diameter dimensions. We can now easily change our between different types of. So this example here, the change for different diameter types. I have my diameter dimension here. I should change it, display as radius, display as diameter, or display, instead of a liter, I can change it to display as a linear dimension. Easier that. It's just they've added this to a right-click menu, to that menu item, without having to go through some different steps. And then this is the new symmetric linear dimension that we have for files here. So if you see here, we have it's a symmetrical part. If we go under our diameter dimension here, you'll see this new symmetric linear diameter dimension tool. I click on my center line, and then I can just grab the different edges. And you'll see it doesn't add both sides of the diameter. It's implied because it's symmetrical. We don't have to show both sides of it, and it's just a nice clean way to create your view here without adding too many lines in your dimension tools. Okay, so that was adding the symmetric linear dimension. So that's what's new for SOLIDWORKS 2022, and that is what I have for today. If you have, again, here's my email address if you have any questions about drawings or anything regarding SOLIDWORKS. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and leave a comment below if you have a specific topic you'd like us to cover in a future video. Visit our website, GoEngineer.com, for access to professional training, upcoming events, and more from your #1 online technical resource. Again, this is Brad Hakeman. Bye for now.